Thanks for your interest in UnderDeck. The following video segments will show you the basics of installing UnderDeck the Original, an attractive and all-weather ceiling system that installs under your elevated deck and creates additional outdoor living space. UnderDeck the Original is manufactured by Fairmark Incorporated in the United States. We're proud to be a Building Products Top 100 Award winner and a Better Business Bureau accredited business since 2012. Prepare your deck. Before starting an installation, be sure to completely read our UnderDeck installation instructions that are available on the UnderDeck.com website or by contacting Fairmark. An important first step is to confirm that your deck is level. This will allow you to correctly set the pitch lines, ensuring that water will drain away from the building. Remove any bracing located on lower edges of the joists and move bracing to the top of the joists, just below the decking. In the event that there are deck railing support posts, as there are on this deck, UnderDeck components must be trimmed and fitted around the supports. Be sure to conform to local building codes. Paint or ledger wrap options. The deck's ledger board and the deck's exposed lumber framing may be painted to match UnderDeck's color, giving it a professional look. You also have the option to install color-coordinated UnderDeck ledger wrap, which is easily trimmed and nailed onto the ledger board, eliminating the need to ever paint the ledger board. How to install ledger wrap. Ledger wrap should be installed before the water diverters. Start ledger wrap at one end of the deck, working toward the opposite end. Always begin installation from the far left or right side of the deck and continue to the opposite end. Hold a ledger wrap up against the bottom of the joists, flush with the outside edges of the joists, and draw a pencil line on the ledger wrap along the inside edges of both joists. Cut out sections to fit around the joists with tin snips and a utility knife. Slide the ledger wrap up between the joists and fasten at the top edge using 1 1/4 inch galvanized or color-matched exterior trim nails. Nail the ledger wrap flanges into the bottom of the joists using color-matched exterior trim nails. Continue adding adjacent ledger wrap sections to the ledger board until all are installed. The ledger wrap flanges will overlap. Installing water diverters. To ensure water is diverted away from the building, water diverters are installed onto the ledger board between the joists. Place each water diverter against one side of a joist and mark the diverter on the other side to get an accurate width. Then trim the water diverter using tin snips to achieve a snug fit. If your ledger board has Z-flashing installed, use a screwdriver or chisel to lift the bottom edge, allowing you to work in the water diverter. Fasten the water diverter using 3 stainless steel or galvanized nails or screws. For easy access for fastening, bend the water diverter down. After attaching the water diverters, fasten a nail on each side to hold the water diverter into position. Continue installing water diverters the full length of the deck. If your building does not have Z-flashing installed, we recommend caulking across the top of the water diverter and applying extra fasteners. Then, seal the water diverter on both sides along the joist using an exterior-grade caulk. Installing joist rails. Accurate placement is critical for proper drainage and for a uniform aesthetic appearance. Start where your deck connects to the building at the ledger board. Place a mark on the joist 1 3/4 inches up from the bottom. Then make a mark on the joist 1 3/4 inches away from the support beam. Snap a chalk line from the mark near the support beam to the mark near the ledger board. Repeat this step on both sides of all main joists and on the inside of the edge joists. Attach your first joist rail 1 1/2 inches from the ledger board with the bottom of the joist rail on the chalk line. Attach using 4 stainless steel or galvanized nails or screws. Do not overdrive the head of the fastener. Leave a little room for expansion. Locate and fasten each successive rail along the same line, maintaining a maximum 1.5 inch space between the rails for drainage. Repeat this step along both sides of all main joists and on the inside of the edge joists. Joist rails nearest the support beam must be cut to allow for a 1 3/4 inch space from the support beam to allow for water drainage into a seamless gutter which will be hung from the support beam later. After the joist rail installation, we recommend that a waterproof tape is applied on the joist rails located on the edge joists where the boundary gutters will eventually go. Apply the waterproof tape on the side of the joist rail and over the top edge of the joist rails to divert water into the boundary gutters. Make sure the tape covers all nail holes, fastener heads, and top edge of joist rail. As extra precaution, apply a bead of caulk along the top edge of the tape. Installing joist rails in a cantilevered section. In our UnderDeck installation guidelines, we offer optional methods to handle a cantilevered deck area. The water may be channeled to run all the way to the end of the deck or may be channeled back into a seamless gutter hung on the support beam. We will be using the latter method. On the cantilever and nearest to the rim joist, the joist rails are placed 1 3/4 inches up from the bottom and are tapered back over the support beam toward the main joist rails. The bottom edge of the joist rails must align just beyond the inside edge of the support beam. Allow a 3/4 inch space between the joist rails. Install each joist rail using 3 or 4 stainless steel or galvanized nails or screws, depending upon the length of the cantilever area joist rail. Next, in the cantilevered area only, apply the weatherproof tape on the side of the joist rails and over the top edge of the joist rails. Make sure the tape covers all nail holes, fastener heads, and top edge of the joist rails. As extra precaution, apply a bead of caulk along the top edge of the tape. Attaching collector panels. The joists on this project are 12 inches on center. In this instance, the collector panel width must be trimmed to 10.5 inches, which is the actual measurement of the inside joist space. Mark and trim the collector panels using a utility knife and straight edge. Following the contour of the joist rail flanges, measure the length of the joist space and cut collector panels 1/8 inch shorter than the measurement. Transfer the measurement to the collector panel and cut the proper length using a utility knife and a straight edge. To ensure that the end facing the building does not get caught on a joist hanger during installation, cut out a notch on each corner. Starting near the ledger board, insert one long edge of the collector panel between the upper and lower flanges of the joist rails. Installation is easier if you have assistance from a second installer. Gently push the other side of the collector panel into the joist rail, creating an arch. Raise the panel until you can set the other side into the joist rails. Work your way down to the other end of the joist space. Do not allow the panels to flatten out. A consistent arch is necessary for strength and drainage. To achieve a tight uniform fit along the ledger board, lay a carpenter's pencil flat against the ledger board and mark the collector panel. Then, pull out the end of the panel and trim the piece by hand. Push the collector panel back, tight against the ledger board. The collector panel should now be approximately 1/4 inch away from the rim joist to allow for expansion. If you run into an obstacle, such as a support post or other obstacle, we recommend using a scrap piece of collector panel to use as a template. Insert the template into the joist rails and run it up to the object to mark its width. Make approximate measurements and cuts by hand to determine the depth and to form a nice fit around the object. Then place the template over the collector panel to be used and transfer the pattern onto it. Make the cuts using a tin snip and install the panel. Caulk around the support posts and other obstacles to ensure a good seal. Irregular dimensions between joists can cause visible wave-like effects in collector panels caused by tension of the narrowing joist space. Restoring an even appearance is simple. Just lift the affected portion of the collector panel out of its joist rail and shave off small strips until the buckling has been eliminated. For joist spaces that are non-standard, it will be necessary to trim the width of the collector panel. Trim the panel to the appropriate width following the recommendations provided in the UnderDeck installation guidelines. Installing joist and boundary gutters. Measure the length of the joist between the ledger board and the support beam and subtract 1.5 inches to allow for water drainage into the water gutter that will be installed later. Then, measure the length of the joist between the support beam and the rim joist and subtract 1/4 inch for expansion in the cantilevered area. To cut a joist or boundary gutter, we recommend using a miter saw with a fine-tooth OSB blade. While cutting, hold the gutter open to its approximate installed shape. To prepare the gutters for hanging, cut a small notch out of the top flange that will be along the ledger board and the rim joist. This will keep the gutter from catching on the existing joist hangers. Next, apply a foam weather strip inside the gutter at the ledger board end to create a moisture barrier. Then seal it with a bead of exterior-grade caulk. On the other end of the gutters, either cut 4 drip tabs and bend them down slightly, or simply bend the bottom edge of the gutter down using pliers so that the water that flows out will not run back up under the gutter. To install, hold the joist gutter up to the bottom of the joist. Spread open slightly while pushing up firmly until the gutter snaps into the joist rails and nests tightly against the collector panel. To install the boundary gutters, slide the back wall or flat side of the boundary gutter behind the joist rail until the boundary gutter snaps into place. Installing a seamless water gutter. Raise the gutter into position until it touches the boundary gutter on one side and fasten it into place. Then set a slight pitch on the gutter and fasten where needed. Continue to divert the water away from the building by installing downspout. The installation is complete. Be sure to test the system with a water hose on top of the deck. Wipe down the surfaces with mild soap and water and a white cloth. Your new UnderDeck, the original outdoor ceiling system, is ready to give you many years of outdoor pleasure.